Alright, hi guys. So, I'm going to be speedrunning Dark Souls today, all bosses. The route is Maildrinker, which is considered the fastest all bosses route, and this is going to be sort of in the style of GDQ, where I'll explain most of what I'm doing. It might not necessarily be a super fast time, because I might take more safety strats than usual, just to make sure I don't, die and lose 10 minutes, which would be kind of boring. So, let's just go. I'll try to talk about what I'm doing. And what you see right now on my screen is I have open my splits, and these splits I'm comparing against my personal best, which was 2 hours, 10 minutes, and 13 seconds. And that time ends pretty much when you light the final fire after fighting Gwyn. And there are reasons for the type of character and the gift I pick. There's some weird quirks that actually make picking the sex to be male are relevant. It matters for a couple weird things, like duping. That's not a big deal. The class is important, Hunter. You start with a pretty good sword, and also, more importantly even, you start with the bow, which you use for a couple things in the run. You use it to aim for a couple of setups. You also use it to aggro a dragon pretty quick in the run. So right away, this first part's pretty straightforward. One of the reasons I got black fire bombs, there's a couple reasons. First, it's that I can kill this first boss very quickly. You're not really supposed to have these bombs. I mean, you can get them easily, but the game doesn't really expect you to have them. Or maybe it does, I don't know, it's a little bit weird. But it does let me kill this boss really easily. And what I'm doing there is I'm just dropping that to make room in my inventory for later. And, so the fastest way to kill this boss with these bombs is just to get 3 right away. If you're fast, you can do it kind of easily. But, a pretty ideal Asylum Demon fight there. The best you could really hope for is to throw 3 bombs, dodge, and then throw 2 more bombs, and that was pretty much exactly what that was. And so, I'm going to talk a little bit about movement in this game. So, like most speed games, the fastest way to get from A to B is to run in a straight line. And you're going to want to take the shortest possible path, which is not always straightforward to figure out, but you should always be attempting to do that. And of note also is the stamina bar. The way stamina works in this game, if you're running, the stamina bar starts to empty. When it's empty, you can't run until it fills up. And what that means is, if you empty the bar, you kind of have to sit there and walk for a while, which costs you time. And if the bar fills up completely, it costs you time because you could be running. So the fastest way to move is actually just to never let the stamina bar empty or fill. Okay, so that was a pretty good first segment. And the reason I save quit a lot here is it actually does a lot of things. If you're starting an action, sometimes it'll finish that action, saves you a little bit of time, because this game actually is timed off of in-game time. So you get little quirks like that, where save quit will make you open a door a little bit faster, or it also resets all the enemies nearby, which is really important. And I'm just going to rush to the spawn fire so I have enough Estus, just for safety, which I do even in my try-hard runs, so it's not too unusual. This section's a little bit scary, just trying to run through here and not get hit by things like that. So this is pretty good. I don't always get through without getting hit. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of menuing once I get to this fog gate up here. I'm just going to equip the bow. And the reason I do that is, I'm going to save it up here, hold on. There's actually a merchant just across the way here, and by using the bow, I can set up the angle so that when I throw my fire bombs, hits him. And it's a little bit faster than going over there and killing him, or buying the key. Because the only reason I kill that guy is to get the residence key, which lets you access a couple things. And whoops, so I fell off. What I was trying to do there was a skip called Lower Undead Berg Skip. And what that entails is just basically jumping over that railing, and you end up in a place you're not really supposed to be able to get to yet, without a key. So it's a bit of a sequence break. And since I screwed this up, I'm going to kill these guys, because they just like to get in your way, and they just bug me, pretty much. Okay, let's see. This usually doesn't take me too many tries, so hopefully it won't. Okay, there we go. Looks good. And, yeah. So now I'm a place I shouldn't really be. And... alright, I'm going to use one of these fire bombs on this dog. Just makes it a little bit easier to kill him. And this part's a little bit scary. Hopefully I don't die. The reason I come down here is for two things. I come down here for the Mail Breaker, which is a weapon that's very important later, and also to save an NPC named Griggs who sells a lot of magic, which I'll be using a lot in this run. So there's the Mail Breaker, right there. It's a little bit scary to get past the assassins there. Not too bad, though. I used to do a much safer strat down here where I ran over here and saved Griggs first, but it's really not necessary. The main reason I did that was just because these dogs are really scary. It's not a huge deal. There's a little skip you can do there where you actually skip Griggs' dialogue. It saves a couple seconds. I don't really know how. It's a little bit difficult. Oh gosh, please. Okay. That was actually really convenient. Oh jeez. This is very bad. I'm alive, somehow. Yeah, this part can be scary. I got a little fiddly there. I don't know what happened. Okay, I almost died. Well, that was very, very close. But it's okay, I'm alive. I'm alive. Dying basically anywhere in this game costs you a lot of time. Yikes. Wow. I'm getting hit quite a lot. Okay, so another reason we got the residence key, one of the reasons was to save that NPC named Griggs, and the other reason is to get in here so that I can get gold pine resin, which makes my weapon very strong. And I'll be using that for just a couple of bosses in this run, including the one coming up here. And during this fog gate, I'm going to unequip a bunch of stuff from my hotbar, just because it kind of gets in the way. I'm also going to equip the bow, because I'm going to need that in a sec. Not for this fight, but right after. It's okay if I get hit by an arrow there. And I'm going to do most of this fight near this end of the arena, because it means that I'm much less likely to get hit by the archers. I'm very bad at dodging these attacks. It's amazing I didn't just die. Amazing again. This has been really scary. Ooh-wee. Well, this has been a pretty adventurous run, I'd say. Oh, jeez. I'm really... It's rarely that scary. But, right here, it's pretty important that I kill this drake. I don't have to kill the drake, I just have to cut its tail off. But it's really kind of scary. It doesn't always do what you want, and when it doesn't do what you want, you tend to die. Which looks like maybe now. Oh wow, okay. So I did get it. That can be really scary. Shoot. So I did not mean to pick up that soul. I'm just going to use it as a gaze opening, but I don't want it in my inventory. Okay, and I almost died there again. Wow. And so that's one of the reasons you need the bow, is just to aggro that dragon so you can use your gold pen resin again and cut its tail off. Which is a really scary part of the run. Doesn't always do what you want. Sometimes they'll just fly up in the air and you can't really get to it, which is pretty annoying. And we're also coming up on one of the trickier tricks, I guess, in the run, but you use it a lot, so it's important to know how to do it. But it's kind of a complex series of inputs, and I'm going to set this up. I have to make sure this trick sorts above the bow in the inventory, and then I have to, well, unequip my pants, because why not? There is a reason for that. It's just to make sure that I still roll as quickly as I can. And this is also when we're going to see the use of the mail breaker. And so now I'm going to explain this trick. So basically what I'm going to do, it's called a move swap. And what I'm going to do is, normally you can't two-hand a weapon in your left hand, but you can two-hand bows in your left hand. They're the only weapon in the game you can two-hand in your left hand. And basically, if I, during an animation, when I would two-hand a bow, I quickly switch to another weapon, and it lets me two-hand any weapon in the left hand. And what this does is it gives me the moveset of my right-handed weapon with the damage of my left-handed weapon, which is very strong with the mail breaker, because the mail breaker has a charge attack which hits twice. So pretty much it doubles the damage of my charge attacks, and I'm kind of struggling with this move swap here. Sometimes it does give me trouble. It's a very difficult trick. Usually it only takes me a couple tries, so this is pretty bad. But no. I wonder why this isn't working so well. Yikes. Wow. This is my performance under pressure, I suppose. Okay, there we go, finally. So now I have, I'm two-handing my left-handed weapon, which is normally impossible. And it has some very practical applications. And you will see me fight the next boss very soon, and you'll see that I do pretty well against it. My damage is very good. And that's largely owing to the move swap. Okay, this room can be a little terrifying. I'm just gonna stay put there so I don't have to wait for that enemy to die so I can get past it, and I don't get attacked from behind or anything like that. And so this boss shouldn't give me too much trouble. Time to avoid fire. One gargoyle down. Two gargoyles down. Okay. So coming up, you're going to see the first instance of the trick called duping. And basically what this is, I'm trying to unequip some stuff from my hotbar, excuse me, is just during an animation, near the end of it, you can actually queue up the use of certain items, and when you use them, if you go into the pause menu and do some stuff, when you use them, it won't consume the item. And, oops, it won't consume the item, so with one copy of an item, you can pretty much just use it infinitely. It's pretty easy to do, so it shouldn't give me too much trouble throughout the run, but it's very useful. It lets you make lots and lots of souls, which are pretty much how you level up in this game, and they also let you use these homeward bones, which bring you back to the last bonfire you rested at, which saves a lot of time. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to go collect a couple of items, which just make the rest of the run a whole lot easier. Well, easier and faster, and actually sometimes harder, but always faster. Here's a weird little jump that is pretty scary, actually. And that was not a good example of how to do it. Pretty much there's a little ledge there, and it's a little bit tricky to land on it. The jump is pretty precise. This looks good. That saves a little bit of walking. Doesn't save that much time at all. But it looks cool, so I'm okay with it. Okay, there's a Black Knight here who really likes to give me trouble. Okay, looks like he's not giving me trouble today. Alright, so what I got there was the Grass Crest Shield, which increases your stamina regen when you're not using it. When you're not running or anything, or using your stamina in any way. So that pretty much just speeds you up, saves some time when you're running long distances and things like that. It also is just a good shield. Alright, so now I'm just going to drop some things that are filling up my inventory. And also just equip short bow and the Grass Crest Shield. And there we go. So I'm all set. Now I'm going to grab one of the most important rings. Oh my goodness. I hope I don't die. And I didn't. Wow, that was scary. Whoops. You can actually do pop up the picking up an item animation, which is a little bit tricky, but almost got it. So, yeah, now I have this ring. And basically what this ring does is I'm almost dead, like very little health, my damage increases a lot. And so that makes this run very dangerous, because a lot of the time you're going to want to just take a bunch of damage, almost die, and set up your red tearstone ring so that you do a lot more damage, which speeds up boss fights. But it means you can't really get hit, because you'll die. So that's pretty self-explanatory why that makes this run a little bit hard. But yeah, that's an important ring, one way or the other. And I should explain what I'm doing here. This is a very cool trick called Sen's Gate Skip. And I messed it up. But pretty much what I'm trying to do here is I will parry an enemy and riposte. And when I do that riposte animation, it will sometimes, if I line it up right, it'll push me through the wall, and it will actually trigger what's called a death cam. And when I'm in a death cam, the camera kind of goes off at a weird angle and it looks kind of funky. But what that does is it actually... shoot. It actually deloads some parts of the map, including a door, which normally requires us to do some major other stuff. to open, but instead we're just gonna run right through it and just go on our way. And yes, this death cam is pretty weird looking. It's hard to tell what you're doing, and the controls get kind of messed up when you're in this death cam state, which is why it's one of the coolest tricks in the game, in my opinion. But it saves a good chunk of time. It also looks really cool. Oh, whoops. Okay, so now I'm in Sen's Fortress, which normally is quite a detour to get into. And the only reason this saves time, because we have to go pretty much most of the areas in the game just to fight all the bosses, is just because if we do it like this, we can deal with all the bosses near where we would have to go to open this door normally at once. So we don't have to go there and then come back and then go there again. It just makes through it a little bit more straightforward. You can kind of take care of all the enemies in the same place at the same time. Okay, this Sen's Fortress is a little bit scary casually. There's not much I can screw up in the speedrun. It's pretty straightforward. But there's a few slightly scary parts. Dodging axes, looking out for spells getting shot at me, things like that. I'm just gonna equip the red tearstone ring there. Oh, I'm getting chased, this is weird. And I'm gonna save quit here, just so that this giant boulder doesn't come kill me. Save quitting there resets the cycle, so you can actually just run right through here. It's a much faster way through this whole place. It's another use of the Mail Draker, just to get that enemy out of the way. The Mail Draker, whoops, the Mail Breaker. Alright, so now we're coming up to the fourth boss. Swap. There we go. There's actually a safety bonfire there, but I'm just not going to go for it. Because I usually don't. It's just not that likely for me to die. Could happen, but if it does, too bad. And like if you die here, you have to do Sen's Gate skip again. It's a big pain, but I don't usually die. Alright, and there is a game-intended cheese strat for this boss, where he kind of just falls, which is hilarious. So yeah, that was not too big of a deal, that boss. And I'm going to take this safety bonfire, because there are a few places where I could randomly die. This is a marathon run, so let's not do that. I should also probably compare this against my average, just because I don't really plan on beating my PB with this run. I'll do that next time I save quick. So I'm going to just do some of this. I think I still fast roll. Indeed I do. And I'm going to dupe once again this Iron Golem port. Whoops, I fell. Normally you're supposed to jump over the railing, I just got a little risky. Alright, so this is the route you're supposed to go. Oh, okay. That can happen. Sometimes you just fall and die. It's really not your fault. It happens to everybody. Honest. It happens, and you saw me there, when you save, like, you get really used to the moves you need to do to save quit, and I pretty much just screwed up, and when I save quit badly, sometimes I reverse my controls, which is just really obnoxious. This also costs quite a bit of time, but it's fine, really. And I'll get to show you the stair ladder, the stair jump, which is a pretty neat little trick, like that. Saved a couple seconds. Looks cool. Alright. So now we're coming up on a part that's very annoying casually. And really, I play it casually, there's nothing, I don't do anything special. But I'm just pretty used to it, so it's not too bad. These rafters are just very easy to fall off. And enemies like to get in your way, and one of the easiest ways to die here is like trying to get in a fight with an enemy and you just easily can throw yourself off the edge here, because the ledges are just so narrow. And this enemy likes to sometimes get in your way, and when that happens, it's really bad. So when that happens, I usually just save quit. Just don't worry about it too much. I'm gonna heal just because pretty easy to get hit by this gargoyle coming up. Oh shoot. And I just realized I forgot to pick up my souls. So I'm gonna have to do quite a bit. So yeah, this is not a great run. I should have about 70,000 souls, and I have 0, because I forgot to grab them. Because I died there. But, it's really fine. Because of how duping works, you don't really need to worry about losing your souls that much. It just costs a little bit of time to get them back. Oh, I already have enough. Whoops. That's fine. And so I'm going to level up a very specific amount of levels. I might throw another extra one into intelligence. Another extra 2 into intelligence, just because I'll do that later anyway. And coming up is a strat I actually invented, and is now pretty standard in this route. It saves about 10 seconds. And basically what it is near the end of this elevator ride, you can jump off and save quit before the elevator stops moving. And what it'll do is it'll put the elevator back down to the bottom. And this saves time because later you have to call it. And you have to run over and pull the lever and everything. It doesn't cost that much time to do, but it does cost some. And this way you just don't have to do it. The only time it costs is the save quit, and ultimately it saves time. And I did it successfully, so that's good. I don't have a great success rate with my own trick. But this is the fastest route of all bosses, so I made the world record a little bit potentially faster. Okay, it's a little scary. These demons like to shoot their little pinchers at you, and they can really troll you. You can't always tell that they're coming. This is a very slow run, but not that that was unexpected. I'm not really tryharding or resetting or anything if I screw up, so I wouldn't expect it to be great. And coming up is a major choke point in the run. And it is the hardest boss in the game, probably the hardest thing in the run. So it's a little bit terrifying. I dread it for sure. So I'm just going to go over here to get a better weapon. And I'm going to be using this for most of the run. And it looks ridiculous. It's pretty brilliant how ridiculous it looks, but I'm going to be using it a lot. It's really strong, it does a lot of damage. There we go, move something. So now I'm going to set up my red tearstone ring. I'm going to run into the arena. Okay, that wasn't a great setup. Ideally, I have a little bit less health than this. Here's a little skip. It keeps you from having to go through most of the palace, which is nice. Saves a bit of time. And because I didn't quite take enough damage from that Black Knight, I had to do this. And there we go. Now I'm set up for Red Tearstone. And this might take me quite a few tries. Who knows? It's taken me like half an hour before. Hopefully it won't. And I got hit by that guy, so that's pretty sad. Which is, yeah, sometimes you just get hit by things. So that attack sets your attrition up right away, but it also... Oh, okay, I died again. Fine. This isn't even the boss. I'm gonna compare against average from now on. Okay, that's a good, that's the ideal attack from the Black Knight, because it means you can just jump from the railing and you'll be set up perfectly. Yeah, and you also don't have to risk getting hit by stuff too much. This boss is extremely hard, so I might just focus. I'm going to reset. I'm going to save quit until it gives me the attack I want, because it just makes the fight a lot more straightforward. If the little guy charges me. Like that. Okay, looks perfect. And perfect. Oh man. Okay, so I'm still not out of the woods yet. This fight is not over by any means. Okay, this is the best way to fight this boss. Just to stun lock him. And I'm dead! That's just the worst. That happens sometimes. If you get it perfectly, you can just hit him over and over. Every charge attack will make him stagger, and you can just stagger again. which is really just ideal. Yeah, this fight is really awful. I can't really say I've had a good run until I have a good this segment. Like, I don't die 5 times, like I pretty much already have. So yeah, like I don't feel good about saying this is a good run until that's happened at all. Because it's just so easy to lose time. It's just really problematic because you have to set up Red Tearstone Ring in order to do good damage, and like everything kills you in one shot, and it's just really unfortunate. Wow. Realistically, this is pretty typical, but if usually in a run, if I'm trying to get PB or anything, I'll just reset if it takes me more than a few tries. So normally I would have reset this, but I'm going to finish it. And I might just leave an annotation which links to when I'm done. Alright, this looks good. This looks good. Okay, I'm gonna be a little bit careful. That was just unfortunate. Camera locking. This has been known to take me like half an hour on occasion. There's really no boss in the game that gives me this much trouble, other than this one. I always just want to check to make sure the big guy doesn't charge me there, because he really likes to do that. And now I kind of just wait it out, wait for a good opportunity to attack Ornstein here. I'm just going to play this really safe. I'm not even gonna go for the stun lock, which is like cute and all, but ultimately really dangerous. This should be good. Okay, finally. I've had much worse, so I guess I should be grateful. But I wouldn't call it good. Alright, so I'm just gonna equip the bow, and I'm gonna kill Guinevere. And what this does is it like reveals the illusion that is in Orlando, and it lets us access one of the bosses, and that's the main reason. I just had to wait around so that the darkening triggers, and I'm gonna fight a boss. And so here's where my strategy of resetting the elevator saves a little bit of time, because you'd normally have to go back and flick the lever, which takes a little bit of time. So I'm going to set up my move swap, which is how we beat this boss. I always seem to have trouble doing this move swap when I have certain equipment equipped. I'm not really sure why, but I'm just going to unequip that shield just in case. Yeah, just like as soon as I unequip it, it works perfectly, so I guess I don't really understand the nitty-gritty of how that works. Okay, so I'm gonna equip my armor, just because I'm gonna set up rotation ring during this fight, and having the armor gives you just enough defense to set that up. So I'm going to take this hit intentionally, because it sets up my rotation ring perfectly. And yeah, I'm just going to do this fight. Dodge these attacks. Oh. Well, I died. Does not usually happen. It's normally a pretty easy boss, but this run is just very bad. So of course I die. Thankfully it's not too big of a time loss to die here. It's really quick to just get back, it's not a long run or anything. But there are two ways to set up Red Tear Stone Ring in this fight. One of them is just to block an entire volley of arrows, and the other is to take a counter hit from the big orb, which you saw me do earlier, and I'm going to do it again right now. And a counter hit just means you take a little bit more damage if you get hit by something when you're running, or like finishing an action or something. Okay, this is ideal. Except that I messed it up a bit. I almost got the one cycle, but basically the way this boss works is every once in a while, if you get too close to him, he'll teleport away. But it's possible to stun him and kill him in one cycle. It's a little bit tricky. Whoops, I messed up the dupe. Okay, there we go. And that boss is done. So now I'm gonna go and fight the next boss. And during that warp animation, I'm just going to unequip my armor, and then equip Gwendolyn's soul, which gives me a little bit more souls than the last soul I've been duping. And so here's the guy we saved early on. He sells a bunch of magic, and these are important for the run. And so what I'm going to buy from him is 2 spells. Both are pretty important. A staff, so I can cast the spells, and also a ring, which boosts magic damage. I won't be using them for a little bit, but once I do, I'll let you know. So I'm going to dupe the soul once here. And I'm going to set up Red Tear Stone Ring by falling at the right time on this elevator. Dupe again. And now this should be good enough. And this boss is pretty hidden that I'm going to right now. You have to do some platforming, which is kind of awkward because the controls in this game are pretty ham-fisted, and it's just awkward to make jumps and things. So that's not really... It's just in a strange place, honestly. And then I just had to sit here for 15 seconds or so and wait for this bird to think I'm its egg. And that will carry me to the next boss. And the reason I didn't take a full red Tearstone Ring's worth of damage yet is because before this next boss there's actually kind of a large fall, and that'll set you up later. And you'll notice this is where we started the game as well. And we're like backtracking and the boss is here. Oh gosh. Okay. Well, that's not very nice. Usually I don't get hit by that guy, but it can happen sometimes. It's fortunate that I didn't just die. But now I'm gonna fall down here and fight this boss. I have to look out for yeah, he likes these big explosion attacks, and I just have to be really careful. I don't really like him being backed up against the wall like this. It makes it kind of hard to dodge him. Dodge the explosions specifically. But this should be good. I should be able to finish this fight. Alright, there you go. Not too bad. Pretty simple fight. And I'm just gonna kill this Black Knight here. And get this key item. And I'm gonna dupe the bone, and now we're out of there. So now I'm gonna fight this next boss. And we get there from the same place we fought Gwendolyn, who was the magic user. Alright, I'm going to equip this Grass Crest shield just so I move a little bit faster and so I can be a little bit more maneuverable. And now I'm just running to the place I need to go. Place which housed the next boss. And we needed the key item from that demon to get to this area. And I'm going to try to set up Red Tearstone Ring along the way, because it makes fighting a little mini-boss quite a bit easier. That's a little bit scary. This run tends to be a little bit nerve-wracking. Doesn't cost a whole ton of time if you mess it up, but it's not good. And I need to set up, I didn't quite take enough damage, so I need to set up Red Tearstone Ring from a short little fall here, which is a little bit of a tricky jump. And I also need to move swap. There. Well, this is not going so great. I know this is possible. I've done it a million times. Okay, there we go. I need to do it again. Because I really did not take very much damage at all. Okay, that's good. And so here's the mini boss. Pretty easy to kill, pretty tough to screw up. I've done it before. Could happen. Shoot. And that guy decided to try to troll me. Wow, there's just like so much stuff going wrong in this run. That's kind of the nature of speedrunning. Sometimes just everything goes wrong. But then sometimes everything just goes really smoothly, and you can't really put a finger on why. But this I'd say goes into the very bad category. It's really fine though. This is just a demonstration. Alright. This boss is really... Oh my goodness. Well, like I said. Very bad run. Very bad run. Well, that costs all kinds of time. And it might be because I'm a little bit distracted by trying to explain everything. But it's worth it. It really helped me to think about exactly what I decided doing. It's also really helpful for a lot of people who might consider speedrunning a game like this, or any game, just to see what's involved, the kinds of tricks that people might do, the kind of things people are thinking about as they play. Like, in a good run, I'd probably be like 7 minutes faster or something. Would have finished this boss quite a few, like 5 minutes ago or something. And what qualifies as a boss in this run is anything that has a large red health bar under its name. So this does not qualify. But there are a few big enemies like this one that we fight. And so there's a couple reasons we kill this enemy. One is that it drops a dragon scale, which is used to upgrade our weapon. The other is that it lets us go this sort of cheaty, faster route, which you're normally not even supposed to do. It's a bit of a bug that you can even go this way. But if you do a jump attack on this thing, it kind of stands up, and you can just keep going. It's a weird thing. I feel like it was not intended. But it lets us skip a lot of this area. And now we're going to fight the boss, which shouldn't be too big of a deal. And I'm going to put my armor on just because this boss does a lot of bleed damage. And having armor really protects against it. It makes it way less likely I'll die from one hit. And the way this boss works is it actually turns invisible. You can see its footprints in the snow. And that's how you see where it is. It's kind of a fun cheese strat, which I don't do, where you shoot her with an arrow, and you can kind of see the arrow stick in her, and just go right to her. But that requires that you move swap in the arena, which is kind of scary to do, and I'm just not quite good enough, so I don't really go for it. But that is a strat that exists. Okay, so now we're gonna start. We're gonna go to save a particular damsel. Whoops, I teleported to the wrong place. And this is going to be the first time you see us use magic. I'm going to dupe this soul one more time because I think I'm a little bit behind. Okay, there we go, that should be fine. And I'm going to buy a couple things from Andre. One of which is a key to open a door, one of which is a smith box that lets us upgrade our own weapons. Normally you have to go to a blacksmith to have them upgrade it, but it's quite a bit faster to be able to upgrade it yourself. Even though we only upgrade weapons twice in this run. And technically, you can do what you need to do without the key, but the key saves quite a lot of time. It just keeps you from having to go really far around. So now I'm going to level up, I'm going to upgrade my weapon, and I'm going to attune the magic that I bought from Griggs. Oh, the reason I was behind is actually just because I leveled up earlier. That was no big deal. Well, actually I need to dupe again, because sometimes I forget that I need 10,000 souls left over to upgrade the weapon. And I need to attune the magic, which is something I forget to do all the time. And now, I like to equip the shield in my right hand and the catalyst in the left. Because later on, I will need to equip something else in my right hand and keep the catalyst in my left, so it's just a little bit easier for the menuing later. Need to make sure to remember to equip the Bell and Dragon Crest Ring, which just increases my damage a bit with magic. We're going to fight a big Hydra, which used to be a huge problem for me, but I've since learned some strats that make the fight pretty consistent. And I'm going to set up our Tearstone Ring here by, you actually take more damage in this game the heavier your equip load is. So I'm going to equip something really heavy, just for the fall, and then I'm going to unequip it. I hope I remembered to upgrade this, oh jeez. Well, I almost died there because my, oh jeez. Well, that wasn't great. Yep, everything that can go wrong is going wrong. This part really gives me trouble. Okay, I did remember to upgrade. So that is good. And you can see my splits on the right. And a red time means pretty much slower than whatever I'm comparing it against at that point. And I was comparing it against my average, because I didn't expect this to be a great run or anything. So you can see I'm actually quite a bit slower than even my average. Usually I compare against, when I'm playing alone, I'll compare against my personal best. Because that's what I like to try and beat. let's try this again. Normally, the Hydra will like to attack kind of a far away arc, but I wasn't standing in the right place for that to happen, I guess. This looks good. And normally you're supposed to kill all these heads. Yeah, I screwed this up. Again. Anyways. Well, anyways. Normally you have to fight all those heads. But I actually do so much damage that I only have to kill 4 of them. Which is very unusual. In a casual playthrough, that's pretty much not even possible, unless you really go out of your way to have insane damage. And third time's a charm, I guess. Yikes. It's really, really annoying to miss that solar arrow shot. Well. Wow. It's actually insane how bad this run is. I haven't had a run this bad in weeks. It's still possible to get an above average time, because there are quite a few places I often lose a lot of time, dying 3 or 4 times. So I might be able to bring it back, get an average time. But it's not going to be a great time, that's for sure. Now it's doing what I want, so it should be good. Alright, so it's finally dead. After 4 attempts. And I'd just like to remind everyone that usually takes me 1 try. This is just very sad. there's a little bit of a more minor enemy coming up. Which you need to get to access 4 bosses later on, so this is a necessary thing to do. Alright. So you just need to talk to her, save her from the scary golden golem guy, and we'll be on our way. So that segment's done. And now what I need to do is just run through here, and I'm going to get to the next boss. There is a way to set up Red-Tiersten Ring here, but I'm very inconsistent at it. I die more often than I actually pull it off, so I'm just not going to go for it right now. And basically what I need to do here is just kill this boss. Very simple. I'll be move swapping again for this fight. It's a very common theme. You fight probably the first 2/3 of the bosses in this game with move swap. And I'm going to equip my armor just so that there's really no reason not to. This is one of the coolest bosses in the game. I'm pretty glad that we get to fight it fair and square. Ish. Wow. What? Wow. This run is absolutely horrible. I almost never died at that boss either. Notice, I should have brought this up too, I tend to do my menuing while I'm doing other things, like going up an elevator or going through a fog gate, just because if you do those things simultaneously, it doesn't cost any time. almost died there again. Nope, did die. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh. My guess is when I make this video, there will probably be a lot of annotations saying, go here to when I finally beat this boss or something. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Alright. Sometimes if you take a hit and almost die, that's fine, because it sets up your red tearstone ring and you start to do a lot of damage, but then you just die sometimes, because you get hit. Oh god. Like, this run is so horrible. I don't even... I don't even know if I should just reset and just make a different video, but it's really fine. Just realized that this run is slow. at the end of the fight, this boss actually starts to get really sad and weak and really slow, but awkwardly can definitely kill you. Just because the timing is a little bit different and you're not really used to dodging it. So you can die right at the end just because even though the attacks are in general much easier to dodge, the timing's a little different. And now we're going to fight a giant butterfly. This is another pretty straightforward just fight. But we're going to be using magic to fight this butterfly, because the way this fight works is normally you just have to sit there and dodge attacks for a while, and then when it lands to rest, you attack it. But we're just going to shoot it in the air. Saves a lot of time. I'm also going to dupe a couple times while I'm here waiting. Alright, this should be dead. Shoot. I'm not really sure what it is, but sometimes these items that say yes or no to use them will default to no, rather than default to yes. I'm not really sure what causes it, but it can be pretty annoying. Alright, so now I'm going to reinforce my weapon, and I'm going to level up a little bit. I'm going to go fight a boss. Also, I'm going to take this guy's rig, and normally you'd have to like fight him or something, but you kind of just kick him off the cliff, which is pretty easy to do, pretty trivial, and he gives you this very, very good rig, which I will be putting on pretty much right away. And I'm going to do a pretty cool trick to get to this boss early. Normally, you'd have to go and talk to this guy, and he would give you a key, and you'd go flip a lever kind of far across this area to lower the water level, and then you would walk this whole side route to get to this boss and fall down this thing, and like it's a big thing. It's a big process. We're going to skip all that. I'm going to use Fall Control, this spell. And I'm going to do a trick called Seal Skip, where you save quit while you're sort of falling with Fall Control into the water, and it kind of just puts you in a place you're not supposed to be. And so here I am, just wandering around in the water. I should be dead normally. Oh, whoops. I move swap, but accidentally forgot to put the mail breaker, so it's kind of useless. Okay, now I need to make sure I have this ring equipped, because if I don't, I will die as soon as I enter this abyss. And this fight usually doesn't give me that much trouble, but neither does Sith. Neither does a couple of the bosses before that have given me trouble today, so I make no promises. So he was about to do an explosion attack, and probably would have killed me, but he was almost dead, so I just went for it. The way this boss works is there's 4 bosses, and they're all the same. You have to kill 4 of them, and every so often a new one will spawn, and it's based on time, not whether like you've killed the previous one. So if you're really slow, you'll just have to fight like a lot of them at once, and it gets really ridiculous. So you really have to be fast, even in a casual playthrough. And this is kind of like Hydra before, where you actually do so much damage, and I died. Well, anyways, we actually do so much damage that we only have to kill 3 of the kings, even though there are supposed to be 4, because you can actually keep damaging them after they're dead. And this allows us basically to skip an entire king. Let's try this again. Hopefully that works. Sometimes if you make a shallow jump like that, you'll slip off and die. Okay, I didn't. Good. I also need to be slightly careful not to just go somewhere I'm not supposed to. Because when you're here, like, if you're not paying attention, you can walk into a place you're not supposed to go, and you die. Because this is just straight up unintended place to be. You can't really expect the game to work. And I'm not dead somehow. That is insanely lucky. Look at that health. This attack is not dodgeable. I just have to take the hit. fight used to be a lot more tricky for me. It was not unusual for it to take me, like, well, a lot of tries. So taking 2 could be worse. It's a little bit faster to do this run with Grass Crest Shield, but it means I would have to move swap later. So the really good ring I was talking about, what it does is it gives you a lot of health, it gives you a lot of stamina, and it also increases the equip load you can have. So it's just really, really good all around. And what it lets me do is I can actually roll as fast as possible in this game with this very heavy club, which is a weapon I use a lot, so it's quite a helpful thing. Alright, I need to kill that golem because he has pretty much the key to getting into the DLC. So now I'm going to switch to the Catalyst so that I can use fall control, which just makes this trick a lot simpler. This is one of the most important tricks in the game. It's pretty tough, but it saves like 7 or 8 minutes, so you can't really not do it. And I messed it up. But basically what you do is you well, you saw it. You get onto the railing of that elevator, and you jump onto a balcony, and it skips a large portion of this level, and just gets you on your way. It's a major sequence break. This is another trick that sometimes takes me a lot of tries. Okay, there we go. Perfect. So that's the trick. This guy's in my way. And now we're just going to run over here, hopefully not die, and we'll be on to the next area and fighting the next boss. It is possible to jump down here and do it's called a fall control quit out, which pretty much as long as you have fall control, if you save quit at the right time, you can fall any distance and survive. But it's right at the end of that trick. And if you screw up the fall control, which is very possible, you just have to do the trick again. And also, if you're a little bit too slow, getting from the trick to that area, you won't have fall control anymore and you'll die. So it's slightly risky. I don't usually go for it, or sometimes I go for it. It just depends on my mood. There was a ring we got from the Hydra we killed, which halves your health and increases your sorcery casts. So we won't be using that for sorcery casts in this run at all, but it's really helpful for setting up Red Tearstone Ring, because it's the equivalent of dealing yourself a lot of damage. It's pretty helpful. And I'll be using it right now to set up Red Tearstone. Okay. Hopefully this is enough. It's kind of looking like it's not going to be. If that's the case, I just won't do this fight with Red Tearstone Ring. I'll just do it normally. Okay, good. So it was enough. Swap again. I'm gonna put my armor on too, just because this boss, its attacks like to curse you, and curse in this game is very bad. It kills you instantly, and then also halves your health semi-permanently. You have to get a purging stone or talk to a healer, and it's a big detour, so we're gonna avoid that at all costs. And the armor just gives you a little bit more resistance to that. But I'm just going to be really careful around this boss, because I have lost many a run. Whoops. Yeah, I need to run away. That attack is really terrifying. It will easily curse you. I'm gonna be really careful here. And I almost died. Oof. Okay, there we go. So that's one of the more terrifying fights. Also Duke Skip, the skip we did that saves 7 or 8 minutes, is one of the more terrifying skips, so I'm really glad to get this segment over with. That's actually the fastest I've ever done that segment, so there you go, I guess. Now we're gonna go do the DLC. like there's definitely the potential to get this back to a more normal average run, but it's definitely bad. Probably won't get above average, but it might not be horrible as long as I do the rest of it perfectly. Yeah, whoops, this is a little bit of a weird route I'm taking. Yeah, whoops. I kind of wanted to just go for that jump, see if it worked, but it was not good. Usually I take my time and kind of look for the bridge, make sure I'm landing on it right, but it's a little bit slow. You can actually fall control quit out down that ladder, but it's a little bit weird. It's a little bit unlike the rest of the fall control quit outs, where you can't really set it up before you do it. You kind of have to be only part of the way through the menuing, or else it'll close your menu and do some weird stuff and you might just die. So it's a strange little coding gimmick, the way the menus work in this game. Alright, so now we're in the DLC. I'm going to take the safety bonfire, and I'm also going to level up so I don't lose all these souls. And let's move swap again. Ready to fight the next boss. This is one of the easier bosses, just because I don't have to fight it with Red Piston Ring, and also it's just pretty simple. I'm going to move toward the exit, so that when this boss dies I can really quickly just run to the next exit to be done with it. Oh wow. Oh my gosh, this run is so bad. This run is so bad. It's okay. And there's one of the upsides of leveling up. Normally, in the fastest, most optimized run, you'd level up at just a few times, and it means that a lot of the time you'll be running around with just like a lot of souls, like 200,000 souls. And dying would cost you probably like 2 minutes or so of duping, which is pretty annoying. Now, wow. This is getting so silly. Like, I got so many bosses in this run where I just never have problems with them, and suddenly in this run I'm having problems with them. So I'm just going to light this bonfire, rest here for safety. And I'm going to buy one thing from Elizabeth, the giant mushroom. She sells a pretty good spell called Hidden Body. So I'm going to buy that. And I'm going to attempt a trick that saves about 30 seconds. Very hard. I almost never get it, but I'm going to attempt it one time. If I miss it, I'll just keep going. Alright. Perfect. Okay, I got it. Basically what you do there is you use fall control quit out to get to the bottom of this elevator. It saves you a bunch of time because you don't have to run all the way around and go the normal route. And yeah, but the problem is it's really hard because you have to basically bounce off of that enemy to land on the right type of ground so you can actually do the fall control quit out. So my success rate with that trick is very bad, and it's nice that I got it for this video. But we're gonna fight another boss here. And you know, just because I frequently die to this boss and I'm not playing at my best, such as right now, I'm going to send this elevator back up. And there's some trigger here that likes to keep you from sending it up right away. You kind of have to go back and, I don't know, it's weird. It doesn't expect you to be here this early, so it's not really ready for you to step on it and send it back up. But that's just safety in case I die here. It saves a bunch of time. And like I shouldn't, because this boss isn't too bad, but it's happened plenty of times. There we go. Well, at least that boss went well. So now I'm just going to rest at this bonfire, level up a bit, attune some magic, and we'll be on our way. And before I can do this split, I have to go trigger a boss for later. The way this boss works, you actually have to go see it fly by before you can talk to this NPC who like shoots it down. It's a little bit easier just to trigger it now than to wait till later and do it. I like to just kill these dogs because they're really, really annoying. sometimes I'm just bad at killing them, like... Okay. I should save some time on this segment at least. I won't be too far behind. So there's the dragon. And there we go. And that's the split. Oh, that's the fastest I've ever done that segment too. Wow! It's probably because I got a Royal Wood skip. Which is that 30-second skip I was talking about. I'm just trying to equip the right stuff. Okay, I'm getting a little bit confused here. Okay, this is a... Now I'm going to do a short little skip using fall control quit out again, where you just kind of fall down this elevator, save quit. It's really, really easy. I used to really overthink that trick. I was trying to like roll down there and do weird jumps, but really all you need to do is just walk forward. And this is kind of the nature of runs. A lot of runs will have bad starts and good endings, and you can make up a lot of time. Runs that look awful at first can sometimes beat some of the harder bosses on the first try or something, and make their time back. So it's really just kind of an interesting, like, do you want to keep going for it or not, kind of thing. Alright, there's a mimic here. I need the thing in it, so... There's a weird little... I don't even know what to call it. A little throwable, which I bought from that merchant a little earlier, and it puts that mimic to sleep. You can just take the item from it without having to fight it, which is nice. So I'm using hidden body here, and I used it a little bit earlier, just to keep these enemies from fighting me. Saves quite a bit of time. Well, it doesn't say, I don't know if it necessarily saves time, but it's much, much safer not having to avoid fighting these enemies. And like, here are two segments where I could save a lot of time, just because I tend to die to them a lot. So if I don't die to them, that's time saved, like, pretty straightforwardly. Rush to this bonfire for safety. It's technically possible not to rush at that bonfire, but it's a little bit difficult, just because I kind of run out of hidden body casts. And I'm going to get the best spell in the game, which is just a little bit down in this cave here. Oh, whoops. I'm sure I used the wrong spell. I'm just gonna kill this caster, just because it will probably kill me if I don't. They are very dangerous. So the best spell is Dark Bead. It does an absolutely ridiculous amount of damage. Not so helpful for these next two bosses, but you'll see it a lot after those two bosses. It tends to one-shot a lot of the enemies left. Like, it one-shots at least two bosses in the run, and kills a lot of other bosses in just a couple, so, including the very final boss. The final boss it kills in 2 shots. And that's the main reason to go for it. It's pretty much on the way anyway, and it's just really good. Oopsie daisy. Okay, let me move swap here. Oops. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna equip red Tearstone Ring just in case, and I've got green blossoms, which increase your stamina regen, just kind of exactly like Grass Crest Shield does. And it's really good for this fight, just because it's really kind of scary and you want your stamina to be full all the time so you can dodge. I have to really pay attention to this fight. I'm like actually confused at this point. Like I keep getting hit by just weird things that one-shot me in this run. I'm just like, it never happens. It's really strange. It's true, like in this game, if you get hit right out of a roll for an attack, you do take extra damage. And so that's really worth noting. But normally you don't die in one hit like that. It happens every once in a while. I'm not really sure why it doesn't always happen. It's just a little bit fuzzy, foggy, whatever you want to call it. Sometimes the way this game works is not the most straightforward. But I did buy quite a few of these green blossoms, and I'm only going to use them for this fight, so I've got a few of them. The fight gets harder once I run out, which happens. I mean, that pretty much means I died 4 times to it. But like, this boss takes a long time to learn. This has got a lot of attacks. A lot of the tells for each attack look the same as other tells. This fight is actually a little bit easier with Repetition Ring, in my opinion, but the setup for it is just really tricky, so I don't usually go for it. That attack is really tough to dodge, because its timing is just really hard to read. And once you get to about the halfway, Manus starts doing those attacks. The kind of dark magic attacks, and they're kind of scary at times. And I'm not going to attack for those attacks, just because I don't really have free time. Like this attack kind of goes in a big ring, and it'll hit you if you're not really close to Manus. Manus is almost dead, I just need to keep my cool. There we go. So, I'd probably save some time on that segment. I tend to die a little bit more. That fight is just really tricky. See, now we're back up to like a more reasonable time. I was 16 minutes behind at a certain point here. And now I'm only 6 minutes behind average. So it's still a bad run. But, could be much worse. Could be much worse. Now I need to remember to talk to Goth here. And Goth is going to shoot down the next boss so we can actually fight it. Oh no. Occasionally, You have to say no. Yeah, I mean, sorry, you have to say yes to that text. If you don't, you pretty much have to talk to him again. And he won't even ask you again without save quitting. So you have to make sure to say yes. And I did not say yes. I kind of got a little bit button mashy. So you gotta be careful not to button mash during those. Oh, whoops. I forgot to rest at this bonfire, so it costs a little bit of time when I homeward bone. And then now we're gonna go fight a dragon. This is another segment I could definitely get some time on. Because I sometimes do die to this boss. Because you set up Red Tearstone Ring, and if you get hit by anything, you die. So it's pretty tough. But also Red Tearstone Ring is really important for this fight because the way it calculates damage, it pretty much triples damage on this boss because of how much armor it has. Which makes it pretty much impossible to do anything but Red Tearstone Ring. It's just not practical. I mean, it's possible, it's just so much slower, it's not really worth it. I'm just being really careful, these dogs are not very nice. I'm just gonna quickly put on Dusk Crown Ring to make sure I have at least half health or something. And fall down here. Just right so that I have the perfect amount of health, and I'm ready to fight. About this boss, there's a lot of strong, difficult to dodge attacks. Like that one. This fight's almost over, but it's still definitely possible to die. Here we go. Oh, jeez, oh man. It's been a long time since I did that fight first try. So I'd say this run has a serious chance of not being terrible, and like suddenly, that's the best I've ever done that segment, by the way. And now I'm not even behind. Like, I'm actually just pretty close to average. This run started so bad, but I actually made up 16 minutes of time difference. Okay, there we go. And, oh no. Okay. I like to attune Dark Bead at Firelink Shrine there. Forgot to do it. It costs a little bit more time to go back and do it than it costs to do it at this next bonfire. So I'm gonna do that, but yeah. It's actually very, very possible I'll end up above average with this run, looking at it right now. Because, yeah, as long as I don't make any major mistakes, it's probably doable. It's just because those last couple segments have gone so well. Alright, and for this next part, this part's really annoying casually, and I just really hate it. But thankfully, we barely have to do it. We kind of just get to skip the whole thing. Oh, whoops, I accidentally attuned the wrong thing. Hidden body, there we go. So we're going to use fall control again here to skip this entire area. Yep. Alright. And just like that, we're at the bottom. So this saves a lot of time. Like, there's really no faster way to go through this place, or even close. And you're going to see the power of a dark bead very soon. We're going to fight this next boss, and it's not even going to feel like a boss, it's kind of a joke. And dead. Just like that. One shot. And this place is very dark, and normally the game wants you to have a lantern so you can see where you're going, but I already know where I'm going, so I just don't need that. I'm actually gonna level up, just in case I die here, which is very possible. This boss can be tricky. I found a strategy that makes me a lot more consistent at this fight. I used to be very bad at it. But this strat is a little bit unfair. It makes me just do a lot of damage, so it's really fine. Alright, let's see if I can get this jump. Okay, there we go. It looks really funky. You kind of get a lot more height than it seems like you should. Just saves a little bit of time. These enemies can sometimes hit you, and it hurts pretty bad, so nice to avoid that. And I'm actually going to break the very good ring. The one gimmick about the very good ring is that you can't unequip it or it breaks, and I just broke it. Because I actually want to have both of these rings equipped. Okay, this is bad. That's really scary. There's an attack this boss can do, where it kind of shoots this, like, terrifying... I don't even know what to call it. Knife underground. And it's really hard to know when to dodge. But I got kind of lucky there. I haven't really gotten very good at dodging it. And there we go, I did that first try, so now I'm actually above average with this run at this point. It's actually amazing how I've come back with this time, because I was so far behind just a little while ago. And I've just made up so much time by not screwing up. Yeah, see, I got hit a couple times there. That section is not trivial, even though it's right at the beginning of the game. And this section... Okay. I'm actually gonna move swap. No, I'm not. I'm just gonna equip the sword, though. And just kill these guys. Because they're just really obnoxious. Okay, now let's get back to our old setup. Alright. And let's do this jump again. Okay, I'm not going to go through here right now. I'm actually going to use Hidden Body just to make these dogs a little bit more docile, because they are really, really scary. Oh, jeez. Okay. Okay, that's very good. I have to make sure Okay, I have to wait for a victory achieved there. If you don't do that, you have to do the fight again. And I've done it a lot of times. It's really, really sad, and it's completely your fault. that was actually the best I've ever done that segment. I had some of the worst segments in the beginning of this run, and in the last 6 runs, I've had 4 personal best segments. Which is pretty amazing. I don't think the dogs follow me in here, so I'm just gonna go. They just can't, there's just a ball there they can't cross. Alright, so now I'm gonna go through this area with Hidden Body. Keep these guys from attacking me. There's a fun little jump here, maybe I can get it. Okay, I did. Okay, this is going pretty well. So this area is really annoying casually too, but there's a really fast route through it, which gets you pretty much right to the end, right away. It's actually an intended route, but yep, it skips a whole lot of the game, of the level. Sorry. Alright. So we're going to use Dark Beat again for this boss. It takes a little bit more damage in the head, so we're going to shoot there first. And one more, and it's dead. Alright, so that boss is done. The fastest I've ever done that segment too. Wow. Okay, now we're going to do a really hard trick, so... It's actually possible for the run to end on this trick. If you do it slightly wrong, you soft lock the game, which means pretty much you can't finish. The save file, it's useless. We're going to do the seal skip trick again, but we're going to do something different after it. We're going to go somewhere else out of bounds. Alright, that was definitely good. Sometimes I'm a little worried. If you save quit there too early or too late, or your jump's in a little bit out of a weird angle, you can sometimes just die unpredictably. But I could tell that jump was good before I even loaded that save. And this is one of the coolest tricks in the game. I mean, first of all, you do this cool out-of-bounds stuff where you're like just walking through walls, and clearly somewhere you're not supposed to be. But then, you'll see. Pretty much there's a crazy out-of-bounds jump from this area into another area. It's really scary. If you save quit at the wrong time, you soft lock, and it's weird. The floor here is solid in some places and fall through in others. So I look for a certain visual cue to tell me when that transition is, because you can't see it at all. So it's right here. I need to ready this. Oh, okay, so I failed this skip right here. And it costs about 2 minutes every time you fail this trick. It's a little bit difficult. It was much more difficult at first. Learning when to jump, learning when to save quit, took a lot of time to learn. So I'm just hoping I get it soon. There have been a few times where it just took me a lot of tries. Usually it takes me 1 or 2 tries. So I'm pretty consistent at it, but, you know, even messing it up once costs 2 minutes. So you really don't want to do that. It happens to me all the time. Whoa, I don't know what happened there. Okay, normally you can hear your character scream when they like hit the floor. That was weird. I thought I made a good jump, but I didn't hear my character, so that means I probably missed. So I just save quitted and it put me back at the ledge again. I think the annoying part about the skip too is that it's just such a long walk to get back there. You have to like take an elevator, do a seal skip, you have to walk out of bounds some places, you have to save quit so that the camera isn't all messed up. And then you have to save quit again before you do the trick, otherwise the next area won't load. It just takes quite a bit of time to set up. Here you have to be careful not to go too far right or you'll die to a death zone. I hope that was close enough. I also hope I saved quitted near the right place at least. Okay, let me try to find my visual cue. Okay, here it is. Okay, perfect. So that's called Blighttown skip, because it skips Blighttown appropriately enough. It actually doesn't save any time, but you need it to make this route work. Okay. Please don't. I almost got pretty greedy there. If you die there, you have to do Blight Town skip again. Normally it's an easy boss, so I wasn't really paying that close attention, but that can definitely kill you. Letting your guard down. God, I always lose track of this doorway. But it's right here. Alright. So now we're going to sort of the fiery part of this game. And the rest of the game should only take 15 to 20 minutes to complete. I just have 4 more bosses and the final boss. And it all goes pretty smoothly. After Blight Town skip, there's nothing hard left in the run. I'm supposed to level up there and I forgot, so I'll just have to do that once I get back. So this boss doesn't attack you until you attack it. So you're not going to see that health bar pop up for a little bit. And this arena is kind of just a long ledge. Yep. And this boss is also much easier with a red Keystone ring, but the setup is difficult, and I don't really know how to do it consistently, so I don't go for it. The fight's still pretty easy without it, so it's fine. Alright, so that's that segment. Still gained some time there, so that's great. And let's level up here. I need to have either 21 or 20 vitality for later. Which I now do. So it's just a cutscene there that shows you that the lava level is now dropped because you killed that boss. Alright, so I'm going to be a little bit safe. I'm going to take this bonfire coming up. I usually will skip this casually. I mean, not casually, when I'm actually going for personal bests and stuff. Because it takes a few seconds and it's just not really necessary. But I do sometimes die to this boss coming up, so it'll save me time if that happens. Alright, that boss is dead. You'll notice in my splits sometimes I'll group a couple bosses up into one segment, And that's usually just because there's not a convenient time to do the split. I'd have to manually like reach down and press the spacebar. So it's just a convenience thing. You know, also if you know, if I have to be running and instead I reach down and press the spacebar, like that's gonna cost a second or something. So I like to pick splits that don't cost me any time to do. Reasonable, I think. Be a little bit more conservative with these dark beads from now on. Alright, that was a very good Centipede Demon fight. Trying to shoot him from far away is a little bit annoying. So I have to equip the orange shard ring there, because what it does is it makes me take a lot less damage from lava. And there's lava everywhere. And if you don't have that on, you'll die. I think it's technically possible to like roll across lava really quickly and not take damage, but it's not really worth going for. It's just too easy to mess up. There's a couple bonfires here, but I probably won't go for any of them, because I'm just not very likely to die. I'm gonna go to the last one, actually, because I do occasionally die on the way to this next boss. For how bad this run, it's actually getting really close to my personal best. Which is just hilarious to me. Like, it's kind of insane how much wiggle room there actually is in these times. Alright, so now we're gonna do a really fun trick. This boss is normally really, really annoying. One of the worst in the game. But we're gonna cheese it. We're gonna beat it with some strats that are just absolutely bad. It clearly did not intend for this to work. Let's just say that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stand in a very specific place. 4, 5. Well, let's try this again. Alright, that's pretty good. So now I'm going to aim for some specific little visual cues and throw firebombs. And the way this boss works normally is you're supposed to go run around and like do some platforming and hit some weak areas back around and go into the middle and stuff. But that's a pain. Let's not do that. Oh no. That was a very rare situation. Sometimes that attack will get you. Like, kind of this fire comes out of the ground. It really only does that attack, like, I don't know, once every 3 or 4 times I do this fight, and I can usually dodge it, but there's not a lot of room to run around in there, so it'll hit you occasionally if you're really unlucky, like I was. But hopefully I can just run over here and hit the middle, and it'll be fine. Like, I really don't die on this segment very often, so this is unusual. With any luck, I won't die on the way to the center, which can definitely happen. I don't have a lot of practice getting there, because normally this fight is pretty trivialized by that trick, which is called Toki bombs, by the way. So I'm going to wait for this sweep attack. Oh. Okay, let's just heal. This is kind of an improvisation. Well, that was unfortunate. That attack happened again, but I did manage to dodge it this time, so not so bad. And there's the boss. It's dead. Normally it doesn't take me an entire death to kill it, but it happens sometimes. So now we're off to the final boss of the game. We've beaten every other boss. So hopefully this goes well. And I call this split parry, because it is very dependent on a parry. And the way parrying works is you kind of do a parry action, and during that parry, if you would get hit, it staggers the opponent, and you get like a free shot. Oh. Well. My game crashed. That happens sometimes. This game's kind of unstable. It does crash. It's not a big deal. It doesn't usually cost you any time, because this game is recorded on in-game time, and it won't usually lose you time if the game crashes. It just doesn't work that way. Unlike real time.
Sorry, fool.
Alright, so let's offer the souls. Alright, so now we're in. So this is the area to the final boss. And I'm going to equip some things. So I'm equipping the red Tearstone ring and the Belling Dragon Crest ring, so now will do a lot of damage. I'm leaving the gauntlets on, because I'm going to do a specific red Tearstone ring setup that will leave me with just like a sliver of health. Yep, and without the gauntlets I would probably die. There we go. And this is a kind of a long run to the boss, so if I miss the parry, it costs quite a bit of time. But you'll see, this is the final boss of the game, and I should just absolutely destroy it. It should die in 2 shots, and it's a little bit ridiculous for all those people who struggled with the final boss of this game, because he is really, really hard. You can just watch this and laugh a bit. Hopefully I get a first try. Hopefully I don't get killed by these black knights. Near the boss, it's happened quite a few times. I almost died there. Well, okay, here we go. It's time to try hard. Alright, there we go. GG. And there you go, that's all bosses. All the bosses are dead. And as soon as I enter this cutscene, the run is over. Alright, so there you go, 2:18:39, which is actually only about 8 minutes slower than my personal best, so this is not this is not a bad run at all, despite the absolutely horrible beginning. So, thank you for watching. I hope I've taught you a bit about what speedrunning this game is like, even if I'm not the greatest runner. Yeah, thanks a lot. I'm so glad I managed to throw this together. And actually get this in a single segment and not soft block or any of that nonsense, so thank you very much.